Welcome back to the Shabbos Treasure series. I'm Gila Ross, host of the Power Up podcast, and I'm here together with my co-host,
Rabbi Samuel Ross, and we are delighted to be able to share a weekly idea that you can take into your Shabbos and upgrade and beautify immediately. Enjoy. Let me give you a little bit of just a quick review of what we did last week, and we're going to see where we're going to go with this week, and then we're going to have Andrew's fantastic question, which actually fits in very, very nicely with this week. Okay, so last week we basically saw that any method of getting rid of soil or something like that, or some sort of impurities from a material, is the problem even without liquid. So again, let's look at a couple of examples. You know, you had, I don't know, dirt that's fallen into, or dust that's, it's fallen into a couch, or, stuff like that, or into materials. You've got all the gunk, so stuff like that. To start pulling it out, even without liquid, is going to be, last week we were predominantly looking at actually with liquid. This week we're going to look at without liquid. But really what we looked at last week was, you're going to get your, sort of your water or your liquid, and you're sort of going to start getting rid of the stains that are there. Does anybody else remember any other examples of what we saw last week?
The spilled drinks, and then you can just put something soft but not to absorb.
Great. We saw scrubbing leather shoes to get the mud off it, cleaning the couch with water, just looking at the questions, removing a stain from a baby that's on your shirt, all of that type of stuff. And again, you're not, you might be using water, but you're using it to get rid of water. What we're going to look at tonight, Robertson Giller is going to go through, I think we've got 5 questions, 6 questions to look at, but I think this is a slightly shorter one tonight. We might even be done by 9:15.
So
it's going to be basically without liquid.
I feel like I should make a naughty little disclaimer here. We're actually talking about whether you could do these things on Shabbat, because sometimes some people wonder about whether you're allowed to do this at any time. So during the week, this type of stuff is all fine. We're talking specifically about Shabbat.
That is a bit naughty. Eh?
That was my excuse out the window.
None at all.
Okay.
None at all. Are you allowed to brush dust from a hat without no water, no liquid, but can you just brush dust off a hat? Again, on Shabbat.
No, because you could be deemed to be cleaning.
Well, is cleaning a problem? He's laughing. He's being naughty. I mean, it's like you're allowed to clean. The problem was getting putting particles or dirt particles out of things, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But now we're talking about without the liquid.
Can you blow it?
Oh, we're going to have to see. So the truth is, blowing is actually, if this is going to be a problem, blowing is going to be a similar problem. But Robertson, we've got another 5 questions.
Yeah. Which, by the way, you brought up a really good point, which I'm going to think is that sometimes I do get the question about, are you allowed to clean on Shabbat? So, what we're talking about last section and today is also the problems with it. But if there are none of the problems with cleaning, then yes, you're allowed to keep your house clean on Shabbat, right? You don't have to live in things that are bothering you, etc. And hopefully, as we go through it, it'll become more clear if there are problematic areas, how you can do it. Okay. What was we doing? We were doing question number 2.
Hi, Stephen. Nice to see you.
Are you allowed to brush icing sugar off your jacket, or anything like that? That would, you find something on your jacket, are you allowed to brush it off?
We didn't say licking off. Darren's not here tonight. He might have enjoyed that one. A couple of smiles there.
You would probably say that's how you have to do it, by eating your jacket or something like that. What about this then?
I think we're
stumped them. What about this? Are you allowed to shake flour off of your hair? What do you think? I don't know why you'd have flour in your hair and Shabbat, but let's just say someone did have that. You open up a cupboard.
It could potentially pull a hair out, and you're not allowed to you're not allowed to brush your hair. So you could. I'm going to say no.
You're going to say
Interesting.
no. I like the way
You
you're
have sour on
Yeah,
Shabbos.
because I'm thinking if you shake it out, then you're not using anything external. You're not like putting your hands through it. You just shake it, so maybe it's not as much of a chance of pulling a hair out.
Okay. Okay, we'll get to it. I'm going to leave question number 4 to you, Rabbi. Definitely. Rabbi's question.
Chullent falls on your couch. What's the best way to remove it? It's that wet, thick substance on your couch.
Get someone else to do it.
Heated.
What are you eating on your couch for? You're not allowed.
We had a buffet Shabbos lunch and there weren't enough seats. I don't know.
Maddie, there are some homes. I've heard of this. I can't verify whether it's true or not. Apparently, there are some homes where small people don't always listen to the house rules. Apparently,
No way.
I
Doesn't
can't
happen.
verify
Doesn't
whether
happen
it-
in. Doesn't happen in Roachbank. Everybody
Not
listens.
here.
Okay.
Exactly. But I've heard of it. I've heard apparently that it does happen.
Let's go on to our next one then. What about if ketchup splatters onto your blouse and then it dries? Can you peel it off?
Ew. Just ew, like.
It'll take a long time for it to dry.
Would there be a difference between it being wet or dry?
Oh,
Well,
we're going to
I
wait
thought
and
that,
see. She's
but then
good.
I've
That's
said
good.
Might just get
no
changed.
example of dry.
Again, guys, let's just quickly go over the first 5 and then you'll see the 6th.
One has to wonder what the person was doing in that meantime while the ketchup's drying on their shirt.
That's what Stephen just said. Would it'd take a long time to dry?
I know, like
Yeah.
what are you doing in that time?
Let's quickly rush through the first 5 and then we'll look at the 6th question. The first one was brushing dust off a hat without liquid. The next one was brushing off icing sugar off your jacket. Again, very similar questions. The third one was shaking, which is going to be, I think Bev's case, flour from your hair. And then we saw the wet chullent falls on your couch, or the dried ketchup which splatters on your blouse. And the 6th question, which is Andrew's question,
Before we do it, there's someone on this call that might know who was the catering company where all these things happened.
You're in a funny one tonight, honey. Last one, can you shake snow off your coat? Slightly different to Andrew's question, but can you shake snow off your coat? Bev already gave a very good guess earlier. Okay, so those are the questions, and you're going to see once we get the principle, I think that many of the questions get answered in a good. So, Robinson, do you want to give us the principle?
Okay. So the principle is brushing dust or powder that has settled into a fabric, right, or an absorbent material, is this melacha. Melacha of
Scouring.
scouring. Okay, we're still doing that
We're
one.
still doing the same one.
Even if you're not using water, okay, or liquids.
So this is the addition for tonight. Last week we saw, you're using the liquid. You can't pour liquid onto your garments, etc., etc. Might even have to be careful about water fights, which we didn't even get into. Tonight we're saying even if you want to clean without liquid, same problem.
Okay, so what's the idea behind it? The idea behind it is that dust, chalk, etc., it's similar to a stain in terms of that it becomes like almost embedded in the item. It's not like something that's just like falls on it and then it falls off. But like if you've ever tried to get like flour off a garment or dust off a garment, like you'll know you need to put a certain amount of effort into it because it gets embedded into the fabric.
Right. And even things like talcum powder, chalk dust, flour, icing sugar, all of these things you can't brush off. So it's going to be the same answer whether it's your coat or whether it's your hat, but you're going to get icing sugar, you're going to get dust in it, you can't brush it off because again it's the same principle as Robertson explained so beautifully. It's the same principle. You can't, it's embedded and you can't get rid of it.
What about, this is just really random, but what about dandruff?
Dandruff.
I was just thinking because you were talking about shaking your head, and then if dandruff went onto your,
Asking for a friend.
Yeah.
well, I was just actually looking at my shoulder.
You're naughty, Hayden.
Yeah.
Again, I think it's going to depend.
I was asking for Andrew.
Or Stephen.
Yeah, or Stephen.
So Maggie, you're asking specifically about dandruff on clothes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep that question and come back to it again. Let's go through the principles and hopefully find an answer.
Okay, so we're going to go for it and hopefully see an answer. But again, so far we've seen, it doesn't matter whether it's wet or whether it's dry. And again, I want to just bring this to life. Your Shabbos suit gets dirty with something. It's got, dust in it. That's what we're talking about here. You're talking about your shirt gets, okay, maybe the fact that it's white is a bit different, but your shirt gets dirty or whatever it is, you can't really start pulling, dirt out of it. That's what it is. This melacha is very, very practical. And I'm going to go even further. Even to sweep a carpeted floor could be the same problem. Because again, you've got the dust, which is, you think about it, the dust which is really embedded into the floor. If you've got if you're just like sort of sweeping big crumbs, you're going to be okay. But if you're going after the dirt, it's going to be a problem. What about if dust, sand, flour gets into your hair, Robertson? What do you do with that?
So in your hair is not a problem because.
Why is that?
Are you testing me? Yes.
It sounded like it.
Yes. Because the melacha doesn't apply to human skin or hair. Okay. So if you want to spill your ketchup and let it dry, do it on your skin because then you can just wipe it off.
Okay. But clothes are going to be the problem. Okay. What about our chullent, our thick, wet chullent, right? So this is the problem. The problem is that if you look at it, a small amount of it gets absorbed underneath. Some of it gets absorbed like on the surface, but some of it gets absorbed underneath. So that is the problem. So the way to deal with it is, like in yeshiva, used to I don't know, someone's chullent's fallen on their suit on Shabbos. How do they deal with it? So believe it or not, you're supposed to the way to do it is basically to get the back of a knife. Trust me as is, the best halachic way is to get the back of a knife to try and get rid of it, maybe a spoon or a dry napkin. You can't get rid of the whole stain. They use the back of the knife. It just sort of takes the top bit off rather than trying to remove, because you can't remove the whole stain because it's embedded. You can only remove the bits which are on top. What about a thick wet substance like a sauce or ketchup that splatters on the fabric and dry? What's the story there?
Okay, so if it dries, you're not allowed to peel it off on Shabbos unless a stain would remain on it. Because then, again, if you're peeling it off and nothing remains, then you're going to be ripping it off the bedding, off the fabric, like the parts that it's embedded into the fabric. But if there's a stain on top, then you're just taking off the top layer.
So again, you get the problem, guys. You're hearing the problem. The layer that's on top is okay. But once things get embedded inside, it doesn't matter whether it's chullent, the stain, whether it's dust in your jacket. Once things are embedded, even to take it out when it's dry is gonna without water is the problem.
So for example, if you've got a plastic tablecloth, is that okay? Because then it doesn't get absorbed, doesn't.
So this is actually going to answer a little bit Andrew's question as well. The whole thing doesn't apply to plastic. We saw last week, if rain gets on your coat, you can't start shaking it off. But if it's a plastic coat, it doesn't apply to plastic because it doesn't absorb. So it's a very good question, but plastic is excluded. Okay, chewing gum, candy, silly putty to get pressed into the carpet. Same problem again. Yes. Ugh. How do we deal with this? What do you say, guys?
If you have small people, don't have it in your house.
Can you use the same concept of the ice cubes
Maybe
that we used last week?
Perhaps.
Or the knife and take the top.
It's going to work. Again, you've predominantly got the problem. You can't stop pulling it out, the weave. You're gonna have again, if you can find a creative way, great. But
I don't know if practically it would work. Yeah. Would it work practically, the ice cube? I mean, you could use the ice cube to harden it, but then you're still going to have the problem of pulling. You could then use the back of the knife to take the top layer off.
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, the coat or the hat becomes wet in the rain or in the snow. Andrew's question with the shoes. So we're not talking about plastic. Again, we saw the plastic is okay, but let's say it's material. It's, I don't know, it's fabric or it's leather. How do we deal with this? Can we deal with this, Robertson Giller?
I have no idea. You've stumped me, Rabbi. You're going to have to answer it yourself.
Go for it. You can do this. Okay. So as long as it's not yet okay. So this is the story. If you've got rain or snow on it, you can't shake it off because it's going to cause the equivalent of squeezing. You're going to be squeezing it off. I think we started to see that last week. With snow, if it's not yet begun to melt, then shaking or blowing it off is okay because the snow is not embedded yet. But you've got to be sure of that. You've got to be sure that the snow is not embedded underneath. If it's not embedded underneath, then you're okay. Again, rubber or plastic is going to be okay. But once it becomes, this is the point, once it gets embedded inside, then you can't start shaking off. You just got to leave it. If it's
Or
not
if it
embedded,
melts a little bit, you can't.
yeah, then you got a problem. But with rain, with rain you're also going to have that problem. Start shaking it off. But with snow, not. Let's just quickly go back through our questions again, guys. What about brushing dust from a hat without liquid?
If it's not ingrained, then it would be okay.
Well, it's also, yeah. I mean, assuming we're talking about dust that is ingrained. So
No.
so that's not going to be right. If it's not ingrained, it's a big thing. It's not a problem. It's a small thing. It's a problem. Question 2.
Are you allowed to just shake it off?
No, because shaking is the same thing. Shaking is the same thing. That's question 3. Shaking out flour from your hair. It doesn't help. Shaking is the same thing. Once something is embedded, it doesn't help to brush it off or to shake it off.
Right.
Okay.
So
I feel like we all need to walk around with like bubble wrap around ourselves all day or something, just so you can't get anything on you.
brushing icing sugar off your jacket.
No.
No, same problem. What about chullent that falls on your couch? How to get rid of it?
We've still got Maddie's question as well.
Oh, sorry.
Of the dandruff.
Maddie's question.
Back of the knife.
It'll be
would that
fine. I've answered it. It's fine. I've discovered the answer.
Okay. Okay. The chullent that falls on your couch. How to get rid of it?
Back of a knife.
The top layer.
Yeah.
Top layer.
And the big bits.
I've heard a rumor that Beverly's gonna let Fudge come and lick the couch. It'll be all right.
Oh.
What about ketchup splashes on your blouse and dries? And you don't have fudge, how are you going to get rid of the ketchup that's on your blouse and dried?
Go to bed.
If it
You
leaves
can't,
a
you
stain,
can't peel it off, you said.
Perfect. Same problem again. And finally, guys, what about the snow? Can you shake off the snow or the rain from your coat or shoes?
yes, if it hasn't changed.
Right. So
So
so rain is always a problem, but snow is not a problem as long as snow is not a problem as long as it hasn't started absorbing in, but it probably has. So then be very, very careful with it. Okay, guys, we finished a little bit early tonight. Have a wonderful evening and a good Shabbos.
Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'd love to hear your thoughts. You can get in touch with me. I'm on Instagram at It's Gila Ross. And please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out. Thank you for your time and have a wonderful day.